Okay, this video is about algebraic expressions. Our objective is I want to be able to evaluate and simplify algebraic expressions. All right, so first of all, what does the word evaluate mean? Evaluate means I'm going to substitute a value in for a variable into an expression and then simplify it by following the order of operations. All right, I oftentimes like to refer to this as plug and chug. Plug and chug. Okay? What is a term? A term is an expression that is a number, a variable, or the product of a number and one or more variables. So for example, something like 5 is an expression. 5x is still considered an expression or a term. All right? 5x cubed would still be considered a term. Now, in a particular term, we have a coefficient, and a coefficient is going to be the numerical factor of the term. So, for example, if I have 6x cubed, then I know that 6 is the coefficient. All right? A constant term. A constant term would just be a number all by itself that has no variables. So, something like 7. All right, and then like terms are terms that have the exact same variables raised to the exact same powers. All right, so for instance, 7x squared and 5x squared would be considered like terms because they both have identical variables. All right, so we're going to go through some examples here. Let me know at the end if you guys have any questions. First one here says, write an algebraic expression. So write an expression that models the phrase 1 less than the product of 6 and w. All right, so if I'm going to write this expression, the first thing that jumps out at me is what does that word or that phrase less than mean? Less than means that I'm going to subtract, but it's also telling me a particular order. I notice that it's less than means I take the second part of it, which is the product of 6 and w, and subtract from that 1. This is the algebraic expression for that phrase. Question number 2, you're on a bicycle trip. You traveled 52 miles the first day. Since then, your average rate has been 12 miles per hour. All right? Write an algebraic expression that models the distance that you have traveled so far. All right, so I know that my distance that I have traveled so far is going to be 52 plus, I'm going 12 miles per hour, so I'm going to say 12t, which would tell me every time that I go 1 hour, that's my t, every time that I go 1 hour, I'm going to travel 12 miles. That's what 12 miles per hour stands for. All right, the third thing that we got to be able to do here is evaluate. Now, this evaluate is the plugging and chugging that we were talking about. They give us the value of a couple of variables, and what I want to do with those values is substitute them in to the given expression. So I have 2 times 3 plus 5 times s, which is -9, plus 6, minus 1. I'm then going to take that expression and start to apply the order of operations. Remember, the order of operations are parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide go together, add and subtract go together. So what that means when I say they go together, we don't necessarily do multiplying before we divide. If all that's left is multiplication and division, we work it left to right. So in this problem, though, I'm going to take 2 times 3 plus 5, and I'm going to simplify what's in that parentheses. -9 plus 6, which would be -3 minus 1. All right. I don't have any exponents, so I can skip that. I have multiplications. So I'm going to do the multiplications left to right. This would be 6 plus -15 minus 1. Now, I wrote plus -15. You could always write that as -15. All that I have remaining now is addition and subtraction. So I have 6 minus 15 minus 1, which would put me at negative 10. This expression for those values evaluates to negative 10. Let's do the same thing for another expression. This time they tell me C is a fourth and D is 1. All right, I'm going to substitute them in. So I have 1/4 cubed minus 1 over 8. Now, in order to simplify this, the first thing I have to do by order of operations is cube 1/4. Well, that's going to become 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64 minus 1/8. In order to add and subtract fractions, you have to have common denominators. So I'm going to rewrite this as 1/64 minus 1/8 would become 8/64 if I wrote it with common denominator. Now I can combine their numerators and I get negative 7 over 64. All right? Let's take a look at the next question. It says ticket prices for admission to a museum are $8 for adults, $5 for children, and $6 for seniors. What algebraic expression models the total number of dollars collected in ticket sales? So I'm going to say, all right, the total number of dollars would be the expression 8 times x plus 5 times x, or maybe it would be even better yet, using a different variable here. So why don't we call the children y plus 6 times z. Okay? So x represents my adults, y represents my children, and seniors are represented by z. There's an expression to figure out my total. So part B here says if 20 adult tickets are sold, 16 children, and 10 seniors, how much money is collected in all? So I'm going to take this total formula that I just created, and I'm going to substitute in these values that they gave me. So I know it's $8 for each adult ticket, and we sold 20 of them. $5 for each child's ticket, we sold 16 of them. And $6 for each senior ticket, and we sold 10 of them. By following the order of operations, this would be 160 plus 80 plus 60, or we would find out that we made a total of, what is that, $300 on that day. Okay, so the last thing that we want to talk about here is how do you simplify an expression? This is combining like terms. All right, so here's what I know first of all. I've got a squareds and b squareds throughout this expression. I know that I can combine a squareds. 2 plus 5 would give me 7a squared. And then I can also combine b squareds. I have a positive 3 and a positive 6. So 3 plus 6 will give me 9b squared. I can't put those two together because they are not like terms. Okay? Part B here, we also have a distributive property involved. In the first expression, I have to distribute first because the order of operations tells me to multiply before you add and subtract. And combining like terms is mostly adding and subtracting. So this would be negative 1x minus 4y. Don't forget to distribute it to both pieces. This would be plus 15x minus 5y. I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have a negative 1x and a positive 15x. That would leave me with 14x. I have a negative 4y and a negative 5y. Negative 4 minus 5, that would give me minus 9y. I can't put those two together, so this is my simplified expression. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.